Hello and welcome to the next installment of your video lecture series. Today we're going to talk about the fourth step in our selling process, which is negotiation and handling objections. We're going to talk about the two types of objections. One's a drawback and the other one is a misunderstanding and how to handle those. We're going to talk about negotiation techniques. Once you make the presentation and you go to close, you're always going to have some type of negotiation that has to occur in order for you to make that sale. So with that being said, this is going to be a two-part lecture as usual because I don't like to go more than 15 minutes. So with that being said, let's get to our next installment of our video lectures with negotiation and handling objections. As I said in the introduction, today we're going to talk about negotiating buyer concerns and handling objections. This is the fourth step in our six-step approach to sales. Remember, we start with approach, breaking the ice. Then the most important part we discussed last Monday, which was needs discovery. We use spin selling, S-P-I-N for spin selling for needs discovery. Once we have our needs discovery, we go over the presentation. I gave you a lecture last Monday about presentation and presentation skills and the way to present a product or service. Now we're into the negotiation, which is the fourth step. You can see that negotiation is working to reach an agreement that is both satisfactory to you and also to the buyer. Remember what we talked about in chapter 4. We talked about win-win strategies or consultative selling. The only way you're going to have repeat business, the only way you're going to establish a relationship with your prospect or with your customer is through a win-win. Negotiation is not an I win, you lose type of situation. What we want to do is we want to negotiate to make sure that the buyer sees the benefit, sees how this product or service can solve her or his needs, solve his or her problems, and then negotiate to a mutually beneficial or mutually satisfactory agreement for that product or service in order to satisfy those needs. So, like anything else, you got to plan for the negotiation. Oftentimes when we have a selling scenario, it's more than one call. We usually don't make the sale on the first call. So it's more than one call, and therefore we plan for the approach, we plan for the presentation, we plan for the needs discovery, and also we plan for the negotiation. So you have to anticipate your buyer concern, and you have to recognize and understand the verbal and nonverbal cues as you're in the meeting. So if you can do your pre-work first and anticipate what buyer concerns you're going to have, it'll make it easier during that negotiation. Also, review the common types of resistance. I'm going to show you some common types of resistance. You know you're going to run into that resistance throughout your selling process. So make sure that you review the common types of resistance and how you're going to handle that resistance. You are never going to have, generally speaking, you're never going to have the buyer say yes right away. You're going to have some type of objections or resistance. And then prepare a negotiation worksheet. Remember, the last time we were together, we prepared a needs discovery worksheet. Just like anything else, preparing a negotiation worksheet is very, very important. Also, we're going to see later in the chapter that we've got to validate the problem by making sure that we show empathy and that we reiterate that the problem they're having and reiterate the benefits that will solve that problem. Also, we always want to make sure that we're staying calm and we're staying polite, and we're also maintaining our proper etiquette. Letting emotion get in the way in any kind of negotiation is a real no-no. It'll kill you from the start with the negotiation. And then also, as we're going to talk in the next chapter, be alert for closing cues. So to plan, again, everything starts with planning. You want to gather information before the sale. You want to get as much information, and you want to anticipate the concerns that the buyer may or may not have. As you start selling more and more and more, you'll find that most of your buyers or most of your prospects have the same concerns. If you handled them once, generally speaking, it makes it easier to handle them again and again. Also, make sure you determine your goals and your financial objectives, as well as the goals of the buyer. Remember, we play win-win. That's the only way to do consultative selling. Review adaptive selling styles. Make sure that your body language is good. Make sure your nonverbal cues are good. And then, of course, as I talked about before, prepare a negotiations worksheet. The book talks about two different strategies. One is Batten and the other one is Zopa. Batten is the best alternative to negotiated agreements. What alternatives was acceptable to you, as well as what alternatives are acceptable to the buyer. What can you live with? What can you not live with? This is especially important when you're negotiating price. Sometimes you start at one particular price and you have to negotiate downwards, or you have to negotiate either other benefits or delivery times or even terms. One of the things that you need to understand is, what will I accept and what will I not accept, and I'll walk away. Remember, in any negotiation, you've got to be willing to walk away. So you've got to understand what is your lowest that you will be able to accept. And then what is acceptable to his customer or your customer, and what is it that she does not understand or he does not understand, and what is it that will enable that person to succeed. But I want to reiterate, remember, oftentimes you've got to be willing to walk away. And then there's Zopa, which is a zone of possible agreements. What is the space between the seller's walk-away point and the buyer's highest willingness to pay? If you can understand that and then somehow meet somewhere in the middle of that zone, it makes negotiation easier. And oftentimes you get there, again, through questioning and needs assessment. So handling objections. There's really only two types of objections. One is a drawback and the other is a misunderstanding. And they're spelled out here. A drawback is something the buyer doesn't like about your product. Maybe your price is higher than the competition. Maybe the delivery terms aren't what they want. Maybe they want it Tuesday and you can't get it to them until next week. Maybe it doesn't come into a particular color. Maybe it doesn't come in a particular size. Or there's something that just doesn't quite fit with the buyer's needs or wants. Whenever you have a drawback, the way you handle the drawback is you go back to the agreed benefits and the agreed way that this product or service will solve the buyer's needs. You review again and you close. And then oftentimes you'll say, I understand it doesn't come in that particular size, but what we've talked about is this, 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 and this. You've liked everything so far. Why can't we make a deal now? Or you can say, yes, my price is higher than the competition, but I've shown you in the past how, or I've shown you in our negotiation how our product or service is better than the competition because of this, this, and this. And you've agreed upon these benefits. Can we make the deal today? Always after you handle the drawback, you want again close. The other one is a misunderstanding. The buyer perceives that there's something wrong with the product or service. If in fact the buyer perceives something wrong with the product or service and it's not, for instance, if the buyer says, well, I would like to, but I can't get it until next week, but you can actually get it to them this week, then you clear up that misunderstanding and you close again. Well, you've said that you wanted it this week. I think we can get it this week. Can we have a deal today? Sometimes a misunderstanding is a stalling tactic. I need to talk to my boss. I need to think about it. At that point in time, the way you handle that objection is you talk about the problem's not going to go away, and the time you spent talking to your boss or thinking about this particular solution is the time that problem is going to continue to exacerbate and cost you money and time. Is it really worth it to take time to think about it? Remember, time is money. The problem is costing you money because you've already did that in the implication part of the spin selling. You can say the problem is costing you money. Is it really worth waiting and that problem continuing to happen? So those are really what I've run through in my sales career. Again, I've been selling for a long time. The biggest objection I've ever found is your price is too high. Anything worth quality you're going to pay for. So you've got to make sure that you can handle your prices too high. I have heard it a million times during my sales career. I've also heard I want to think about it. I want to talk to my boss. I need to get more quotes. You're the first one I've talked to. I need to get more quotes, or I need to see more options. Sometimes they absolutely have to get more quotes. If it's a government, they have to have 3 bids or what have you. Sometimes you have to say, yes, I understand you need more quotes. Once you get those quotes, I'm going to come back in, we'll review the benefits, and hopefully we can do business then. I also hear a lot, I'm set with my current provider. That's true. They probably are set with their current provider. However, if they've got a problem, then that's something that their current provider is not helping them with, and that's how you make sure that you can win that sale. I've never really had a bad history. Now, I've come in where previous sales reps before me, they've had a bad history with the previous sales rep. And so I clear that up. That's, again, a misunderstanding. I clear that up. Tell them we're starting fresh with me as a sales rep. I'm going to make sure I service your account. I'm going to make sure that I solve your problems, help you, and we're going to play win-win. And I try to set that on the right foot. So all those are the key objections that I've heard of, and these are the ones that you need to plan for before your sales approach. With that being said, this is going to end part 1 of our video lecture. We'll be back with the second